Hello, everybody. Joy Brooks, Email and Coffee. A holiday season with the new year is always a memory of things past and things future. And speaking of things past, my guest today is Liz Kinchen, a high school friend of mine and professional who is about to introduce herself. Liz, please.
Hi, thanks for inviting me here.
You bet.
So, introducing myself, currently my career, my work of choice is I'm a mindfulness meditation teacher. This is my third career. I started out in software as a development engineer. Did that for about 21 years, and then I took a turn and became the executive director of a nonprofit organization that was doing work, still is doing work in Honduras with children and families from impoverished backgrounds. Did that for 17 years. I sound like I'm about 1,000 years old.
Adding them up. I'm doing
Yeah.
math.
And now for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been a meditation teacher. I've actually been a meditator my whole adult life. Started when I was in college, and meditated over the years, on and off. But in the past decade or so, I've gotten really serious and committed, and became certified as a teacher. And that's my love right now in terms of work.
So, when it comes to mindfulness, have you got any programs going on? Anything of interest to people?
Yeah, I teach some ongoing classes at a retirement community, and then I also offer things independently myself. And I do have a program coming up in January. Um, it is called Mindfulness and Compassion, a Way of Healing. And it's particularly designed to address the stress and frustrations, disappointments, hurts, traumas that we all experience in our lives, and how mindfulness and self-compassion can be really helpful practices and tools to help with healing from those kinds of hurts that we've experienced in life. And that program is going to run in January, and it's 4 consecutive Tuesday evenings, starting with January 9th. So 9, 15, 9, 16, 23, and 30 are the Tuesdays in January. And it's on Zoom, and it'll start at 6:30 and go for an hour and 15 minutes each week. And if people are interested in and participating in that, they can go to my website and in the classes tab, find out how to register. It's really quite simple. And my website is just my name, lizkinchen.com.
Very good. I remember going to you. I remember thinking of you, going to look for you on Google, finding your YouTube channel, and listening to some of your meditations, and thinking to myself, yeah, this is Liz. Her voice is so calming that me, who is a hesitant meditation person, easily found any one of your meditations easy to meditate to.
That's great to hear.
I have another friend who's got a similar voice. You're both women, so sometimes, and no, this is just me. Sometimes when you do guided meditation, the voice is pandering or placating, and it's, I'm sitting there going, "Will you shut up? Who do you think you are?"
Yeah.
And it's difficult because you're fighting it, and I fight it anyway because my mind races, and for me to shut it down, I probably need to knock myself into a wall and pass out on the floor. But I actually I spent a week meditating with you. I have to admit, I guess I was stalking you, but it was a good kind of stalking.
Friendly stalking.
Yeah, friendly stalking. And I have so many friends that meditate every morning. I just my schedule is so packed. I should just commit, and I think everybody should commit at least to mindfulness. And it takes a bit to even get a grip of mindfulness. So, can you tell me, or can you define mindfulness?
Yeah. Well, it's defined a bunch of different ways by different teachers, but basically it all comes down to the same thing, which is developing the ability to be fully present, fully in the present moment, aware of what you're feeling and experiencing, both internally and externally, without judgment. And the without judgment part is a really important piece to it, and sometimes not the easiest piece.
Mhm. It's like you can be mindful when you're eating, and
Absolutely.
you don't have to necessarily say to yourself, I'm eating too much. You're just very aware. I've just eaten this and it tasted good. I've just eaten this and it tasted good. And maybe you'll come to terms with the fact I'm full
Exactly. And you learn
without
to
that
really
judgment.
notice, what your body feels like and when it feels full enough.
Right. And even, I'm going to say that word, but I've only got my deaf dog here, so she can't hear me. When you go for walks and you're just walking, a lot of times you grab the phone and you lose the moment. Although you can have a moment on your phone, but not while you're scrolling and walking.
No, it's a different thing altogether.
Different thing. And I I so I just wonder how much um, the concept of mindfulness in a very simple sense has been lost, that we actually have to become mindful. It's almost as if it used to be something that you did. You read a book and you concentrated on the book. You were in the book. You were mindful of the author's words, and you were in their world. You were completely in their world. But now everybody's doing 3 and 4 things at a time, or rushing from one thing to another, and then we develop stress, and then the stress gets worse because we don't take care of it, and it becomes sometimes trauma, and then we go for years in time, and we've got these deep seated memories that maybe we're trying to forget, or maybe we're trying to piece together. It's an odd thing. The mind is a very odd thing.
The mind is an amazing thing. It's so powerful and it can get us in lots of trouble. And it can also be the pathway towards freedom and ease and contentment and joy.
Do I'm not exactly sure who says it, but some believe that there's two minds: the one in the head and one in the stomach, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. So research is showing that there's a nerve, one of the cranial nerves, the 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve, and it goes from the brain down all the way into the gut. And so, the expression when people have a gut feeling about something, we've been using that phrase for, ever. And now there actually is findings that the connection between this nerve that goes all the way into the gut, back and forth from the brain, to the sensations in the belly, there's actually communication going on between sensations in the torso and the brain, and that this nerve mediates um, our fight, flight, freeze response. Our readiness to fight. It also mediates our ability to rest and to be connected to other people. So there are different branches of this nerve, and they mediate these different um, states of being for us.
So if
So
something
yeah,
feel right, it's not just in the brain. If something,
right,
if you're feeling nervous, you've got that butterfly feeling in your stomach. It may be because the mind has the memory has seen a pattern that you subconsciously see, but you haven't consciously put the pieces together. So it's saying, I've been here before and I don't like this is not good.
right, and that's what the stress response, the fight, flight, freeze response, is about perceived danger, right? So our nervous system is just wired in a way to be on the lookout for things that could be harmful to us. That's the negativity bias that we have, and it's just baked into our systems as people. And it was super useful when there were tigers, about to come around the corner and devour us. It was super useful for that. And it still is useful today. If there is something that is actually immediately dangerous, it alerts us to that. However, there aren't that many tigers around right now that really deserve that kind of a response. So a lot of the things that we have that stress response to are perceived, but not actual dangers.
Right.
Right. And so that's what we're coping with as modern human beings most of the time, is that we have these, stress responses to things that we think are going to be harmful, but they're not. And some of them are memories, right? Some of them are, memories that trigger that stress response. And it becomes, just automatic. And then that response get triggers, that is an emotional feeling, and then we start thinking, right? So we start thinking the thoughts, and that's when we get into things like catastrophic thinking.
Down the rabbit hole.
And then it just feeds on itself, right? It becomes this cycle,
Yes.
and we're triggered easily, and we're stressed.
It's life what we see, one of the senses, what we see, smell. A lot of times it's perception. So we perceive of it to be something. And usually that has a judgment. So something, oh, the sun is rising and that's good. That's sad.
Good,
That's bad. Whatever it is, we have a
right?
perception of it. Oh, the sun is setting and that's so, um, because we're intelligent beings and conscious beings, we do that. And we may not know that we're doing that. So the holidays come and some of us love it. We rush around and some of us get very depressed. Um,
Yeah,
it really it may be about family. It may be about the fact the year's behind us and we're looking at a new year and we're wondering, what am I doing? There may be all of these things. And in the moment of just, oh, happy holidays, you're totally at a loss of words and you don't know what
right,
to do. And it happens that quickly. And it's important. Oh, that's why I always do I always tell people breathe deeply. It really is important to stay when you get hit so hard with any emotion, even happiness. Take a moment to step back, just a second. That doesn't mean that oh, happiness is not good. You just need to take a moment to step back to get a firm grip of that feeling. A mindful feeling of what's going on. I don't know else to explain it. Mindfulness is very important.
yeah. I mean, it's really, for me in my life, it's really been a game changer. Um, it's made me react like a knee-jerk reaction much less of the time. Like, I mean, it's so commonplace. We have an interaction with somebody, and for some reason it just like gets us mad, or it's like we respond in some automatic way, often unconsciously. And sometimes we say something, right, that ends up not being really what we wanted to say, or it hurts somebody, or we regret it. So, cultivating mindfulness helps us when we feel that little, urge to respond in an attacking kind of a way. We could say, like you said, pause, take a breath, notice what you're feeling, and then you have more space to choose how you want to respond. So you can really do less of this knee jerk reactivity and more thoughtful responding to a situation. Usually works better.
It usually works better. The relationship, every relationship is a responsibility. And we have, as humans, that are social animals and need to connect. Need to connect. Every day we need to connect, whether we like it or not. I mean, if you say you're not a people person, I can get it because I don't really consider myself a people person. However, I love connecting with people, so go figure that out. So for us, those connections, it's sort of our reason. It's an odd thing. This is my feeling. It's our responsibility to make sure that those connections are mindful and meaningful. So you don't, I have in my past said so many things, knee jerk things, that I think to myself, really? Is that all you could come up with? Please, I wish somebody had shoved something in my mouth. And then you want to also, the term just add alcohol. And then you really come out with some of the wildest things out of your mouth. And I think that we as individuals have a certain amount of responsibility. And I guess it's just to take care of ourselves. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not that I have a responsibility to take care of you. It's that I have a responsibility to take care of myself. And in doing that, that means, and I guess this is where this philosophy thing comes in. It's like, I need to do the best I can. Do no harm.
Do
Why
no harm.
Why would I want to harm someone? Well, it takes a certain
Right.
amount of energy to harm or to do good. So why would I want to harm somebody?
Right. And I think you're right. Like you, most people don't, I think, want to harm somebody. I think even when people I think even when people do harm somebody, in their heart of hearts, they don't really want to. They're sometimes acting in service of some unmet need that they have that makes them
Desperation.
feel as though it's the right thing is to do an action that hurts somebody. But I feel that we're all basically good. I think we're all built inherently with goodness in us. And surely not everybody behaves that way, right? um, but I think that that's because they've been hurt in some way in their life
Because somebody else
and they're
harmed
defended
them.
and they've covered up their good heart and it comes out sideways and
That's
they
not,
hurt people.
it, the the cycle of harm. I'm sure. I'm sure there's papers written on this. There's a cycle of harm. You grow up in a house, and perhaps there are things that went on in the house, and there was harm to you. You will reenact that in some way, shape, and form moving forward, without even knowing it. Perhaps you have um, a higher threshold to being, I use the term abused. So if somebody bullies you as opposed to somebody bullying someone else, you walk away as if you have, your skin is thick or thicker. So somebody bullies you and you walk away unharmed, and another person is left very upset. The same person did the same thing. So I I think that we're all packaged. We're all packages. We're all packages of nurture nature. We're all little packages of nurture nature running around, reacting to things we don't remember or we do remember. Um, and sometimes we act out of goodness, and sometimes we act out of, I'll use the term desperation. And I don't know how to stop that. except by being mindful of what is going on with you.
Right. I mean, the first step in a mindfulness practice is to recognize, to notice, right? It's all about noticing, right? Notice what's going on around you. And if you're present in the moment, you can notice a lot more things, right? When we're going about our day and we're going from one thing to another, right? Rushing or, moving along and, on automatic pilot, there's a lot that we're missing. There's a lot that's, I mean, all these old fashioned proverbs, like stop and smell the roses and, that kind of a thing. The first step in, I think, being able to live mindfully and exercise true choice in how we respond to the conditions and circumstances of our lives requires the first step is to stop and notice what we're feeling, notice what's happening around us, like really notice. And to do that, you have to slow down a little bit. You have to be willing to somehow break that cycle of moving automatically and moving from one thing to another kind of on a treadmill, because that's not really being mindful, right? That's just being carried along by inertia in a way. So to stop or to step off of that treadmill takes, we call it in the mindfulness world, it's taking a pause, right? It's literally stopping what you're doing. Helps to breathe, right? Always helps to take some deeper breaths. And then you can say, okay, what am I feeling right now? What is around me right now that I notice? And all of a sudden, there's like a tremendous amount of information there for you to work with. And in that pausing, breathing helps. Again, that's where there's agency or there's choice. You're no longer, on this automatic reactivity treadmill.
Mm-hmm. It brings.
So I want to share, there's a quote from Viktor Frankl. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meanings, a philosopher who survived the Nazi concentration camps. And he has this one sentence phrase that I think it describes what I'm trying to describe much more clearly. He says, between the stimulus and the response, there's a gap. That gap is the pause. And in that gap lies our choice, our agency, and our freedom.
It does. There's a strength
So
in
it's
there.
all about the pause.
It's all about the pauses. There's a strength that this comes, thinking like this really can impact everything. So you're at an interview, right? You really want the job. You know that it makes a lot of money. It's in a good place. You're struggling, right? You go to the interview. You're so pushed. You're so busy. What are they going to ask me? What am I going to answer? What are they doing? What am I saying? You're so busy that you're not taking in the culture cues. You're not actually thinking, do I want this job? Am I going to fit in? I've had so many jobs where it appeared to be perfect. Everything was perfect, but I didn't listen. I didn't feel. I didn't stop long enough. I was rushing it along, and I was being rushed along because I wanted to say the right things. I wanted to look the right way, but I wasn't listening or I wasn't feeling. And within a month of getting the job, all of those feelings came to me, whereby I thought to myself, "What am I doing here? I don't belong here. This was a mistake, a big mistake." Um, and smoking a cigarette. If you say to yourself, I need to quit. I really need to quit. If you really think about it in the moment, perhaps You'll feel your lungs, you'll feel the whole thing. You'll really taste it. You'll really say to yourself, "Oh, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. This is not good." And maybe that will help if you're really in the moment. Not pushing
Yes.
it along to get that feeling, that the nicotine high, the jolt that you get from a cigarette. The same thing with meeting a friend or making friends. You make a friend and you're talking, and oh, well, you have so much in common, so much blah 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 blah, or perhaps a prospective boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, a relationship, and you don't get the cues that they don't care. They're not going to be
Right.
there for you, or
You're
you
missing
miss
a
the
lot.
cue.
You're missing the cues.
You're missing all of the cues because you're rushing everything along. And in the long run, life is short, but it's not that short. It's not that short. There are many things that I wish I could revisit, not because I regret, only because I would, take time to smell the roses. I really would. I really would. And this is young people, older people, it's everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
So, mindfulness is I am a big armchair philosopher. So mindfulness is a philosophy, and I don't think it's something new. Um, it has a little bit of Asian charm to it, but it's also it to me it brings to mind the Stoics because they were they were over thoughtful. I mean, I hate to say the Stoics are probably where we get modern conservatism because the Stoics were, it's not that they felt that they shouldn't show their emotions, but they were to check their emotions before they showed them,
Okay. All right.
right? The concept of do no harm is a Stoic tenant where, you, you, you forgive. And again, the Stoics came before the Christians. So a lot of the philosophies, there's a lot of Platonism in Christianity. There's also a lot of Stoicism in Christianity. So the Stoics were, they forgave everybody, literally everybody,
Huh. Really?
everybody. Um, it's a very interesting. It's a realization that, as philosophy as it was coming out of the world, in many places it was replacing religion, in some way, shape, and form. It was religion, some way, shape, and form, but it also slowly became, um, almost modern therapy. A lot of our therapies are coming out of philosophical discussions and, therapeutic concepts that they were trying to instill. So,
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think that philosophy, religion, psychology, I think they all stem from our, uh, by our, I mean humankind's, desire to understand why we're here
mhm,
and what is this life about?
mhm.
Like, like that mystery that, like, what the heck,
Well, that brings to
Um,
mind, the collective. Um, what was that Jungian's? Oh, I can't believe I've lost my mind.
the
Uh,
collective unconscious?
yes, the collective unconscious,
Yeah,
where, I
yeah,
mean, he's talking about something pretty woo woo.
right. Yeah, pretty woo-woo. And, you know, if you look, I think, not even that far into many religions and philosophies, they tap into that very thing,
Right, right.
right? I mean, many people over many years have had this sense that maybe there's something, I don't know, more than us or bigger than us, or there certainly is a lot we don't know, right?
Right.
And that mystery, maybe, we all have a sense of that. And I think this desire to understand, right? To understand all these things about life that we don't understand. And it's this attempt, right, to fill in the blanks.
Take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
And we all either we all accept tradition or we totally reject it. So we either, I'm not going to do that because my mother did that. I'll never do that. Or, I'm going to be just like my mom. And it's an
Yeah.
odd thing. It's an odd thing. And as humans, I'm sorry, that's exactly what we do. I can see to my family, and I can see to my family's family going back and back and back. I can see the decisions my father made and know exactly why he made them, and he even knew why he made them. And I don't, I'm going to use the term. It's a hot term, victim. I don't like to use that term. I don't like to put myself in that situation. I mean, we're all results of something.
Mm-hmm.
Go into a rabbit hole and you go deep enough, I think you become a victim because now you're down in that rabbit hole. You can't get out. You essentially put yourself in there. Essentially, I'm not being light on victims. I think I've been a victim in my past, but I never realized it until after, and I crawled my way out. Crawled my way out, but I had to get out. And I think that's because I have a high price on humanity and my own humanity and think, I'm not wasting this. I'm not wasting this. So that's sort of that goes back to my feeling that we have a responsibility to be the best we can. And we need to crawl our way out of victimhood, some way, shape, and form. You don't allow someone
Yeah.
to put you there.
I think victim and victimhood is a really charged and multi-layered concept or word. Um, you know, on one hand, it's used to describe, a series of actions, series of conditions, right? And we sometimes use the word victim to say someone's a victim of a series of conditions that have happened. And then there's the sense of victimhood as a state of mind, a response to those set of conditions, right? So I think the word is used in different ways.
Yeah.
And what you're describing about, going down the rabbit hole, I think has a lot of state of mind,
Mm.
component to it, where someone has experienced a set of conditions that have hurt them. And that's
And
true. I
truly,
mean,
yeah, truly.
it is truly what happened, right? Set of circumstances, and then they were hurt. And society, or we sometimes call that being a victim. And that person can view those circumstances in a lot of different ways, right? And that's where, like the mind starts spinning stories,
Right.
right? And I think if we're not really careful or mindful about those stories that we spin, we can start to go down that rabbit hole.
And we may not even know we're in a rabbit.
And may not even know it. We may feel it on some level, but we may not know what's going on that is keeping us there.
The woman that continuously dates a man that harms her,
Yeah.
one after the other, divorces, gets married, marries another one after the other, or people that continuously find friends that destroy them, that don't support them, continuously destroy them. um, so many that we do so many things, or we destroy the relationships that we need because we figure we'll destroy them before they destroy us. We'll just do it and get it done with.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. That's a
You know,
sad thing. And that
we
just
did it.
comes from,
I'm in control. I did it, and it won't hurt as much when
yeah.
they do it. You're already expecting it to end, so you just
Yeah.
destroy it. That was
Yeah,
something
yeah,
my
and
husband
that's,
did.
that's a hurt place, that does that. It comes from a hurt
A place,
place.
yeah. And you know, I used to I used to try to talk to my husband about things like this, and he would say, "Don't psychoanalyze me," and I'd be like, "Okay, honey, all right, just go into the bathroom and have a conversation with the mirror, and let me know how that comes out." It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
Many people would rather not. You don't need to go into heavy therapy to do this. Many people would rather not admit when they know themselves that something's wrong. They don't want to admit that.
yeah.
It's and it's it's very sad.
It's hard. Sometimes it's just so hard and seems so daunting, when we know something is not right and something needs to change. Maybe we don't know how to do that, how to make that change, or maybe the effort of the change is so daunting, or maybe it moves us into the unknown and into uncertainty. And that also is an uncomfortable place to be.
It is. I wish there were um, simple answers. Right? There are never simple answers. Uh,
Not usually, no.
the
Life is complex.
my realizing that something needs to change and then making those changes yourself, like the woman who is being abused and has a child and needs to leave that relationship behind for the child. That's very difficult because perhaps the other person that is um, abusing them, perhaps they are financially solvent and you don't have any financial, so now you're afraid, if I go out I have no money and what will I do, I can't go back to my parents. These are
Yeah, real
real
situations.
situations, and these happen all the time. And um, this is this is where good old fashioned religion used to come in place, where you could go to a pastor or a father, a brother, or, some capacity, and talk and perhaps be taken care of within the community. But those things don't exist as much as they used to. The government now takes place, and sometimes you know that's going to a complete stranger, and that's now you've added something else to it.
Yeah, I think what you're speaking to, Joy, is a really important component, I think, to moving toward health or moving toward a healthier situation, is that we need other people, right? And yes, maybe there are these structures around, that offer help or assistance, and maybe not. I mean, maybe it's, a friend or whatever it is, this urge that people have to connect with somebody else to help them, move into a better situation. Again, I think we're wired to be in community with people. We're wired to be in connection with other people. And it's very powerful. And it's very powerful what being in connection with somebody else can do for someone.
Oh yes, I can vouch for that.
Whether it's a collective somebody, a community of some type, or whether it's one person, it's the going it alone,
Mhm.
just it's very hard. It makes it very difficult to change.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a survivor. I'm or a strong person, but you should not. Oh gosh, you should not have to do it alone. And I think it's very important for people to understand that through their life, one of the most gratifying things you can do is to find real friends.
Mhm.
And one, the concept of friendship is I remember after my husband passed away, and I thought to myself, I lost my husband, I lost my best friend. Now I'm really down and out. I've got nobody. Um, and I was like, what is a friend? I haven't really been a good friend. What is a friend? And I don't know if my parents ever taught me about friendship, other than my folks telling me, why do you always give everybody parties and nobody does that for you? I'm like, I don't know, but I just want to give them a party. So can you just buy potato chips and leave me alone? Type of a thing. And um but it was like you said, it's hardwired. We may think I just want to,
Yeah.
I always thought to myself, can everybody just leave me alone? Because drama always killed me. I didn't want the drama. But at the same moment, I wanted friendship.
Right. Right. Of course. It's that urge for connection. And I believe it's a healthy urge,
I do.
to want to be in connection with someone else.
Do you have do you have a healthy definition of friendship? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, not really, not specifically, but off the top of my head, I think uh, a healthy friendship has mutuality, meaning both people care about the well-being of the other person, and both people act in ways that supports the well-being of the other person. Um, there will be times, I think, like in a marriage, where, it's not always a 50-50 moment. Sometimes somebody needs more of someone else's time and attention. And then sometimes that shifts. But overall, and if you average it out, there's an equalness more or less, and really a mutuality between the two people. I don't know. That's off the top of my head.
I came to the conclusion that very much like marriage, it's a contract that you make with that mutuality as the foundation. It's just and I guess at my age I can say, sex is completely overrated. Friendship is is that love without that physicality. You're not thinking I need to make babies with this person or I want to make a family with this person. You are thinking that you want to share everything with this person, and that they will share everything with you, and that they can say the hard things in a way that, even with an apology or without an apology, you get it. And even though there are moments of stress, they are, um, just like in a marriage, a good marriage. There, that moment of stress, and in an instant, it's gone. In an instant, it's gone. I used to have arguments. My husband would go out for a walk, would come back and say, "What do you want for dinner?" And we'd forget we even had the argument.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're describing in a way sounds to me like there's a certain foundation of trust,
Right? It's that
right? Trust that even if there are waves and bumps,
right,
you're there for each other,
right.
and you'll get through it.
It's a sacred covenant without the concept of God, without the concept of witches. It's a sacred covenant where you both come in and you may not, although I think people should, I think they should acknowledge some sort of a relationship. I think people should do that. And I think good friends, and a husband and wife go through, the ceremony. That's what that is. They should take that really seriously because that's exactly what it is. And I feel somewhat saddened to think that, many people are thinking that relationship is like some sort of tradition that needs to be removed, gotten rid of, because it's part of the patriarchy. they'll do anything they can to prove that there's something wrong with a tradition
Hmm.
because it goes against the philosophy. And I would like to say that many traditions and philosophies and these things are there because they're inherent. I mean, they just make sense. They just make sense.
Mm.
We are not meant to do it alone.
Right. No, I don't think we are.
And that's not to mean that all need to have husbands and wives, or we all need to, have families. It's just essentially, it really means that we need community.
Right. And nowadays you hear more and more the phrase chosen family,
Mm-hmm.
so people are finding their friendships, their
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
relationships that support them, and they don't have to be, biologically connected.
Yes.
Um, it's people
There
who
is
have
something
lost
to that.
family.
There's something to that because sometimes
Yeah.
parents can't, are unable to. Again, they were raised by their parents, and they're either doing what their parents told them to do, or they'll never do what their parents told them to do. They're reacting, and I have forgiven my mother and father 9 million times for everything they said and did because they were just doing the best they could.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but there are some people, and my parents were not those people, but there are some people that have had very difficult uh, uh, family situations, very difficult. My husband's family, one of 10 children, is difficult. Yes, it's difficult. Even in like a Hollywood movie setting, one of 10 is difficult, and so there's baggage there. And for him to have, and he never really did. He should have gotten himself another family. Um, and I'm not saying that his
Well,
family.
he did that. He did that in part because he got you.
Yes, exactly. And many times
That's
he said that to me. Not that his family was not the right family, but he needed to. He wasn't mindful enough. He needed to mend a lot of ways, and he couldn't do that with his family because his family was part of those ways. And there are some situations. I think we're all like that. As I said, my parents um, were the way they were, and I needed to find. My husband is a strong man, unlike my father. My father was a loving, giving man. So I did the opposite. I was actually looking for my mother in a man. Go figure.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
we all do that, and the point I guess that I'm going for is that we grew up in a certain situation where our parent, mother, father, sister, brother, they were all a certain way, and sometimes none of them were helpful, and God bless that situation. Sometimes none of them are helpful, and that's when somebody needs to seek out another family, and
Yeah.
they may not realize that.
Right.
And
Right. A lot of times we don't do it consciously, but I
they
do
go
think,
find the same
friends
family
that
they're
we.
leaving. They go find the same exact family they're running away from because they're used
Uh-huh.
to it and they're comfortable
Yeah.
in it. So if everybody's misbehaving, oh, I'm home. Everybody's misbehaving.
Right.
I'm home.
That's true. A lot of truth to that. We seek out what's comfortable for us,
Hmm.
even if it's not so healthy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, if we venture out of that comfort zone a little bit, we might experience something that is healthier and we become drawn to that. So sometimes, it takes that little stepping out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. Sometimes for everybody, I think a little check on your boundaries. Just a little check. Like, okay, what happens if I step here? Huh? How about here? Huh? How about here? Okay, what does that mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
again, not everybody wants to do that though. Everybody will just stay within the area that's comfortable. And that comfort zone may not be right. I mean, as I said, if you're in a situation where you've grown up and you haven't been, you know, you've been denatured and nurtured and nurtured in a situation where, you know, you're expecting somebody to tell you you're ugly, and you're only comfortable if they treat you like you're ugly.
Hmm.
Then gosh, we've seen it a million times. I mean, every drug
Yeah,
addict in the world is reenacting something whereby they've gotten themselves into a situation where they don't have the self-respect because it's been taken away from them. And they're too afraid to step out of that boundary. It's as painful as being disrespected themselves, disrespecting their own. It's a catch-22. It's like I may as well just get high because I don't want to feel the uncomfortable feeling I have knowing that I have to get high to mask what I'm feeling.
right. Yes, that's right. It's in Buddhism they talk about the two arrows. Have you heard of that?
Oh,
Um, so the the first arrow is something that happens to us that's hurtful, right? So if you can imagine being stabbed by an arrow,
right,
right?
right,
That's real pain, right? And then the second arrow is the stuff that we add on, is like the stories that we say about that, right? So what you were just saying, there's whatever pain led to someone seeking comfort in drugs, let's say, that's real pain that they're experiencing. And then, they get addicted, and then they have judgments, and then they feel guilt. And like all of that stuff, the guilt and the judgments, that's the second arrow. And in Buddhism, they say that the first arrow is inevitable. We are going to get hurt. I mean, even aging and illness is an arrow, that first arrow, right? These are the things that life brings to us. Um, the second arrow, however, is optional. This is the stuff that we do in our minds, that often makes it much, much worse. So, to go back to the arrows, you have an arrow, you know, do you say, "Oh, I have an arrow. I wonder if that person who shot it doesn't like me, and why wouldn't they like me? And maybe all the stories start, right? In the meantime, take the arrow out,
right, right,
deal with the direct experience of the thing that's hurtful. And if we can, again, this is where mindfulness is so helpful because it helps us become more aware of the stories that we're making up that make the whole situation harder
right,
and worse.
right. And
And then we can choose to say, oh, look at what I'm doing here with all of these judgments and whatevers, right, that make it worse. Maybe I don't have to do that.
right. And I'm not trying to make light of depression or any really serious, perhaps chemical or psychochemical or whatever. There are situations where these are difficult. We're a machine, and if the machine is not in sync, there are real situations where it needs to be fixed.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right, but there's also times where we can be our own best remedy. That's that responsibility, where we could say, okay, they just said something that was hurtful. I can either come back and tell them they can, they know where they can put it, or I can, smile and be graceful about this and realize let's not allow them to do it a second time, or perhaps let's give them a moment to apologize, or let's just step away from the moment altogether.
Exactly.
All of these things. And that's being mindful of what's just happened. That's that first arrow. And just say, okay, you know what? Doesn't matter. Next. And in many cases, that's the drama that used to drive me crazy. Where sometimes sometimes I'd react, you know, Um, it takes two to tango. All those terms you could use when when you're about to have an argument with somebody, or the pick your battles when you're thinking, no, this is important. I've got to say this. I've got to get it off my mind. If you really think to yourself, there are times when you have to get it off your mind. It's how you get it off your mind.
It's how you do it. Exactly.
I
It's
mean,
how you do it.
if it's if you want to curse someone out, if you're thinking that's going to solve the problem, odds are the moment is over. You might feel better, but now you've got it. You haven't resolved anything. All you've done is
Maybe you made it worse.
Yeah, all you've done is called somebody, any particular combination of sailor words, and now you have complicated something. Now there's something more. Now it's double.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in many cases, it makes sense to be mindful. I don't know what else, I don't know what else to turn it.
Yeah, it really does make going through life a bit smoother and results in us feeling, speaking for myself, it results in me feeling more at ease, more okay with myself, more okay with life. It's just mm, a gentler, kinder relationship
Graceful,
to people, to life, and to myself.
graceful, graceful.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm losing my voice. Graceful. There you go. Graceful. Um, I wish they would. These are the little things. I come up with all these things as I get older. Why don't they teach us this in school?
Good question. Think about how much better the world would be if we were taught these things
I mean,
in
our
school.
parents would say things like, mind what you're saying. I mean, it was there, right? It was there, but the exercise wasn't there, right? Now, let's go out and play kickball. No, let's sit around and be mindful for a moment. If that's a real exercise. If we started
Yeah,
every class with mindfulness, it's
right.
it's somewhat religious,
And
and it was part of religion, but it's not.
it's not inherently
No,
religious,
it's
it's a
not.
practice. Some people would call it mind training, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a lot of secular,
Hmm.
a lot of places in the secular world
Yes.
where it's used. Um, and the key is it's a practice, and that's the connection between mindfulness and meditation. I mean, they're two different things.
Right. 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 Right.
So mindfulness is a way we respond, a relationship we have with the events and circumstances of our
Right.
lives. Meditation is a practice, and it's a tool that we can use to cultivate the ability to be more mindful in our lives.
Hmm.
And we cultivate it by taking a step out, right? Step out off the treadmill, sit down with ourselves, get quiet, get still. And a great way to do that, a universally great way to do that, is to breathe and to notice our breath. And if we can do that, even for a short period of time, it's stepping off the treadmill,
Hmm.
and it's restorative and it's rejuvenating. And the more we do that with regularity, the more we sit ourselves down. I mean, truly, it said that if you can do it on a daily basis, doesn't have to be for a very long period of time. You don't have to sit for an hour. You can sit for 2 minutes
Hmm.
in the beginning, right? And just get used to stopping and taking that breath, noticing. The more you notice your breath, so the actual method of meditation, of mindfulness meditation, right, is to connect with your breath, put your attention on your breath. Your mind is going to wander, 100% guaranteed, because that's what the mind does. It's natural. And then when it does that, it wanders into thinking about the future, thinking about the past, anything but right here, you notice that and you say, ah, my mind is thinking about my shopping list. It's okay. But you invite the mind to come back, focus with the breath. And you just do that over and over and over again. And it's like going to the gym where you do bicep curls, you repeat them, you get stronger. Same thing with meditation. You do this practice and you get stronger. And the whole point of it is not to sit on your cushion and say, oh, I'm a great meditator. Look how strong I am. You know, how strong my mind is. It's all about how you live your life. It's about what you do when you get up off your cushion and interact with people and interact with the things that come to you in life. And you're that much better equipped to be mindful then, to be aware of what's going on in any given moment. And that's where our choice lies, our agency in our lives. And that's where, you know, there's just greater freedom and peace, inner freedom.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It,
So anyway, that's the distinction between, you know, meditation's a tool and it can be a habit. So if we do it daily, we're establishing a healthy habit that then plays out in our life in a positive way. Just like if you go to a gym, you know, every day you get stronger and stronger, and then you can lift heavy boxes better, right? Same kind of idea.
mhm. When you were speaking about breathing, it reminds me of the old counting sheep.
Yes. Yeah.
It's almost box breathing, almost.
Yeah.
So you count sheep, and the first one it jumps, and two it jumps, and you do that until you fall asleep. Same thing. That's exactly what you're doing in the box breathing, except you take a deep breath in and you count, you hold it, you exhale, you do it again, and you count. And the point is, as you're counting, the mind is wandering, but you're bringing it back because you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. You're counting, you're
Right.
counting your breaths,
Yes.
you're bringing it
Right.
back. And every time, any time I cannot sleep, I box breathe and I immediately fall asleep.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. It's taming your wandering mind. And especially at night when we're awake, you know, it's like that's when the mind really loves to get into ruminating and catastrophizing. And so, yeah, it's simple technique like that, kind of like, you know, corrals the mind a little bit and says, just be right here. That's it.
And it's usually, I mean, when you wake up and suddenly you can't sleep, it's because there's been either stressful thought that you remember or you don't. It's called a dream or a nightmare. And I think most of us dream. We all don't remember what we dream, but if we wake up in the middle of the night and we can't go back to sleep, odds are there have been some subconscious thoughts that are bubbling to the top where you're thinking, oh, I've got to go to work tomorrow, and I don't forget that I have to do this, and then you're stressed over something. There's some amount of stress going, and it's the perception that you've got a lot going on. You may have a lot going on. I'm not saying you don't, but it's the perception of that level of how much you've got going on. You may just need to get up and go to work on a Monday morning, and you're not looking forward to it for many reasons. And you may need to think about that you hate work. That may be something you need to come to terms with. But in the meantime, you need your sleep. So um, box box breathing is something that anyone can do. And as soon as you do it, and as you really do it, and it's simple, you'll realize, I think I just meditated. It may only be
Yeah,
for a few minutes,
that's right.
and you
That's
can
right. I
get
think
better.
meditation has, yeah, it's a little off-putting, I think, for some people. I mean, in a way, Joy, you started out saying that, right? Like, you know, your mind is very busy, right? And to like the idea of sitting still and concentrating just on your breath or something like that, you know, is off-putting to a lot of people. And I hear a lot of people say, well, I can't meditate. I just can't. I can't sit still. I can't stop my thinking. And, you know, it's a myth that meditation is about stopping our thinking. We can't do it. physiologically impossible to do, really. And, you know, and then people, they may say, oh, I can't do it. And then they beat themselves up and they say, this isn't for me, or they get angry about it, or, and it's really such a gentle, forgiving practice. It's just sitting. It's like noticing when the mind wanders, not judging it. There's the non-judgment piece that I started out saying in the beginning, not judging it and being kind, like, hey, mind, you're worried about tomorrow's day at work. I get it. It's okay. Just come back. Focus on the breath. That's it. And then the mind's going to jump to the past. It's going to review some conversation. It's like, oh, I just noticed that. That's what the mind's doing. It's okay. Don't have to judge it. It's all right. It's just a gentle invitation to come back. That's all it is. So even people who have busy minds, you say, oh, I've noticed I have a busy mind, or they feel restless. Oh, I notice I feel restless right now. It's actually okay.
A guided meditation is helpful in that way, but you have to find the guide.
Yeah,
this is
it's helpful.
not gratuitous. You're a very good guided your voice is perfect for guided meditation.
Yeah, it's really hard as a beginner to sit yourself down in quiet and do this on your own. It's super hard. So yeah, finding somebody, and there are all kinds of apps, there are lots of sources to find guided meditations. Certainly as a beginning meditator, very helpful.
I would say that it's worth the effort to find that that method that can just recollect you in some way.
Good word.
Form. I it's not really meditation, but when I walk, it's my time. It's selfish. It's my time. And I have dogs to go with me so that I'm not alone. So I feel I'm killing two birds with a stone. So it's my time, and they get to poop and pee along the way. And I'm doing two things at once. And if I had a friend to walk with, that might not be the same. It's connection with the friend, and it's good, but it's not the same experience. I get quiet moment, or 20 minutes to 45 minutes, sometimes to an hour and a half. Quiet moment outside to look around, see what's going on around me. Now there are cars and things like that. It doesn't matter. I'm in the moment. I'm totally in the moment, reacting to the moment. And often, oddly, things get solved the minute I get home.
Yeah.
The minute I get home, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, where did that come from? Because I stopped worrying about it.
Right. And you cleared some space inside, some internal space.
Or I come home and I'm like, that's not even a problem. I don't even care about that. Just
there you
up
go.
and throw it away. My goodness. So, but that's the walking that I have. Exercise can be that for many people.
It is for many people. I have a student of mine who has a hard time sitting, on the cushion and meditating, but she's a swimmer. And she swims in the morning and she's all alone in the pool and she's doing her laps and she's breathing. She's with her breathing.
Right.
She's moving, very meditative.
Very meditative. Exactly. There are lots of different ways to do it, and to find, oh gosh, we're using all those words. Find your center. It's your responsibility. It's not selfish. It's not selfish at all. A lot of people don't have a lot of time. They have kids. I get it. I really do get it. I mean, oftentimes I think to myself, I'm very lucky that I have the life I lead where it's all my time. It wasn't always like that. And many people have parents to take care of, children to take care of, work to take care of, house and, material things to take care of. And they're very busy. I get that. But those are the people that need this practice the most
Yeah.
because it will center them and give them a real definition of who they are. If they were to lose their parents or lose their children or lose their house, their job, they would lose a definition if you keep going in life and your definition is that I'm a mom or I'm a wife or all these things. Those are clearly identities. But if you don't have that that uh un that it doesn't have a name, it belongs to you and it's inherently yours. It can't be defined and no one can take it from you. But if you don't find it, you can never be at peace with it. And once you find it, it's like, oh my goodness, this was here all the time. I don't know how I didn't see it.
Yeah, and taking those moments, I mean, even if it's like 1 minute, for yourself, right, to just be with just yourself is really, it's restorative, it's healthy, it's rejuvenating, and it makes us better when we go and take care of all the thousands of things that we're called upon to take care of if we have a busy
Right.
life and if other people depend on us. It brings to mind, how on airplanes, the safety instructions always say that if there's turbulence and the oxygen masks come down, the adult needs to put the mask on themselves first, and then they can attend to children or others around them. It's the same concept. If we don't um, give oxygen to ourselves,
We'll go to it.
we're not going to be able to help other people. So even if
Also,
it's a small bit, it can still be restorative and important and not selfish because of this very thing. It's like if we're not okay, we can't be okay for
right.
others. So it's for us and it's for them.
Yeah, it's so simple, and it's again, to use the term, it's not judgmental. You're not supposed to go into meditation and say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." No, that is not the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation is to set aside all of those preconceived notions of this, that, and the other thing, so that you can just breathe, just breathe, bring it bring your heartbeat down, bring your thoughts together, so that when I say bring them together, it's just stop letting them run over here, stop letting them run over here, stop letting them tell you you're a loser, or you need to try more, or you should have said this, or I could have done that. Bring it all together and stop. And when that, it could be 5 minutes, when that moment is over, it will be kind of amazing. Obviously all those, you're an idiot, you did this, you said, they're all there, but the perception is different because you've gotten yourself out of the, I don't know, you've clawed your way out of the rabbit hole. That rabbit
Right.
hole is
Yeah.
difficult, is is all around us. We could fall into a rabbit hole at any point. Road rage. You're in the car. You're racing to get somewhere. Somebody puts on their blinker but never turns. And now you're all bent out of shape. And
Right.
and your whole day is ruined. That's a rabbit hole.
Right.
You just
Right.
threw your
That's a loss.
hole.
You've lost something in your day if that's how you respond
But
to
people do this
other
all the
people.
time. Oh,
Of
the,
course.
the expression, you just ruined my day. Don't ruin my day. Don't bum me out. It's like you're giving someone else license to,
Right.
run your emotions. Don't do that. Get out of that.
Right. No, and it may sound extreme, but truly at the end of the day, the only person who can ruin our day is ourselves.
And that's not to say that other people, don't do horrible things. I mean, I'm not
Of course,
discounting.
they do. It's all about how we respond to what comes our way. And shitty things are going to come our way, and beautiful things are going to come our way. And our choice lies in how we respond to
Agency.
both.
That's a nice word. I love that word, agency.
Yeah.
It's it's another way of saying free will without going, oh well, that's a God thing. No, no, no. It's agency.
Right. Sure. It's a human
It's
thing.
really it's um, I don't know. There's a there's a secular root in religion that I think we throw the water out with the baby, throw the baby out with the water. That expression. It's sort of there's a reason. There's a reason why the community built these rules and regulations that became this religion, this this moral structure. There's a reason we did that, and I think modern man or an evolved man can own it individually. And some religions actually say that. In other words, you don't need to go to church to talk to God. You can have that conversation all by yourself. Um, and it's when people say, "Well, there is no God," that I say, "You're right, and maybe not."
Right.
And
Well, it's everybody has their what everybody has their view on
yeah,
that, right? And I don't know that anybody can say to another person, you're wrong or you're right about that. At the end of the day, we don't know. And so it's all about how we hold it.
oddly, I really think God is agency. I
Uh-huh.
really do. I think it's God is that 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 power, that free will to do the right thing.
Hmm.
The end. It's that
Hmm.
simple. And I might oversimplify it, but that's how I look at it. We can tell lots of stories about it, and they can they can come in lots of different forms, and they can all be very similar to each other. And when you start looking at the similarities of all those stories, that's when you realize, wow, you know what? We're all this human race thing. We all think the same. We all need the same thing. Um, and it's quite a beautiful. I'm sorry, it's quite a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. It's a privilege to be here, learning, seeing, experiencing, growing, being connected.
With or without,
It's all a
with
beautiful
or
thing.
without all the fixings, with or without all the fixings. Um,
Yeah, it's messy. Being human is messy and it's hard and it's beautiful and it's all a privilege to be a part of, I think.
mhm. So, so now that we've had a lovely conversation, um, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Is there any like place, any website or any resource, anything you can come up with? Any last words at all?
Oh, gee. I guess I would say, if you think you can't meditate, give it a try, find what works for you. There's not one right method. There's not one right thing. It's all very individual based. Um, I think you don't have to believe any particular thing. It's all about your own direct experience. Um, I think it's good to, if one is open to learning more about mindfulness or meditation, it's very popular right now. There are a lot of resources in the world. You can just Google the word mindfulness and you'll get pages of resources. I will say that I'm a I read constantly all kinds of things and I like to learn. And so on my website, because I'm interested and involved in mindfulness and meditation, I have a page on my website of resources. And there I list all kinds of books by different categories within the overall mindfulness slash Buddhist, world. Um, there's a section on trauma and how mindfulness interacts with and helps with trauma. Um, And there are links to podcasts, links to retreat center. I mean, all kinds of resources. So if somebody wants to start somewhere, browsing through that resource page might be, a place to start. Like you said so kindly, there are guided meditations that I have. There are audio meditations on my website. And I have a YouTube channel that has, the video component. Not much is going on in those videos except me talking. But
They're very helpful.
anyway, so there are resources. And yeah,
I'll add the
if any of your listeners are interested and they want to talk to me more, you are all welcome and invited to contact me through my website, and love to interact.
Great. I will be sure to add the link on the below, wherever the below is. I know somewhere in the caption description, and so people can find you. And it's been lovely.
Great. Yes, it has. Always, Joy. Thank you so
I'm
much.
very grateful for
Appreciate it.
having known you then and knowing you now. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.